So we're well into the holiday season, coming up to the new year. It's always a good time to reflect on the past and then look to the future. One of my ambitions for this year is to go vegetarian for 2 days a week. Here's why. So for anyone who's new to this channel, just a quick reminder, I'm interested in two things. The first one is really looking at the medical and scientific literature to see what it says about healthy aging as we go through life. That is trying to avoid some of the serious diseases that affect us in older age. And secondly, we touch upon those newer technologies, the regenerative technologies that have really taken the scientific world by storm over the last few years. So they are really the summary of the two things that I'm interested in on this channel. So I always find coming up to the new year is as good a time as any to think about what you've done and where you want to go in the for the next year and beyond. And one of the things I would like to do is to try a vegetarian diet initially for 2 days a week, at least for a year. So the first question that people might ask is, why am I doing this? So why am I going vegetarian for 2 days a week? The reason is the first reason is for health reasons. There is a huge amount of scientific literature that eating and consuming more vegetables overall is good for us on a number of different levels as we go through life. I'll put a few links down below if you want to follow this, but the evidence is pretty clear. The more vegetables that you consume overall, the better it is for your diet, your health, and potentially longevity. So my first reason really for going vegetarian 2 days a week is to increase my overall consumption of vegetables. I try and eat a healthy diet as much as I can, but if I try and go vegetarian for 2 days a week, then that overall will increase the number of vegetables I eat overall. So that's my first rationale for going vegetarian 2 days a week. So the second reason overall is this will obviously reduce the amount of meat that I eat on those 2 days in particular. Again, I do try to not overeat or overconsume meat, but obviously if I cut 2 days out by being vegetarian for those 2 days, then overall again I will reduce the number or the amount of meat that I consume. There's some very good quality scientific medical research that suggests that overconsumption of meat does put us at risk of some types of disease and cancers. The third reason is a weight reason, a metabolic reason for this is as we get older, as I've found out, is the older you get, your metabolism does tend to slow down. Gone are the days that I could eat what I want and just expect to stay as skinny as a rake. That just won't happen anymore. So again, by proxy, eating those going vegetarian for 2 days a week should reduce overall my calorie intake simply because generally vegetables contain less calories than calorie-dense meat. Of course, you can go overboard. You can still eat junk vegetarian food, your pastries, vegetarian pastries or fried food, but I'm trying not to do that, of course. So overall, on balance, it should reduce my calorie intake as well and give me a better chance of maintaining a healthy weight again as I go through life. So these are not diets, by the way, these are sustainable options for healthy living. All of those things have been associated in numerous medical and scientific journals, papers, to be associated with healthy aging. So that's reducing some of the diseases that affect us as we go through life in older age. They're the cancers, the heart disease, stroke, blood pressure. So all of these things could have or be affected by a better diet with increased consumption of vegetables and a lower consumption of meat. So let's try it for 2 days incrementally. The third reason, and perhaps the most important reason going into the future, is one of sustainability. Vegetarianism, I know, is a hugely contentious issue. I'm sure some people who are watching that would say, why don't you go vegetarian for 7 days, and then beyond that, why don't you go vegan? I know it's a very controversial issue at the moment. The reason I'm only doing this for 2 days at the beginning is I want to do it incrementally, and for the criticism that maybe passes, it won't make a difference on a sustainability front. You're quite right, it might not. But then if I can do it for 2 days, then I know other people are thinking about doing it for a small amount. But can you imagine? Can you imagine if 100 people started doing it for 2 days? Then 10,000, a million, a billion. If everyone globally started to reduce their meat consumption, then there is a real effect. I'm not saying that I will start this. Of course, people are doing this all the time. So it's just to get that message across that an incremental way of doing things is often the most effective way of doing things. To grow a kilogram of meat and get it ready for our consumption compared to vegetables takes a huge amount of resources, land resources, nutrients to feed those animals, the waste product, the pollution, the methane they produce. You know, it's a huge contentious issue. Too big for this video, but just to say that, again, of course, the scientific consensus is that reducing meat consumption is good for the environment as well. And the other environmental reason, of course, is that I've got young children, and I think the combination of getting older and having children, and I'm sure many of you who have children as well or know people with young children, you look at them and think, well, I want to stick around as long as I can to enjoy this life and my kids. And then secondly, of course, you don't want to hand over a damaged environment. You know, if you can keep it and sustain it and make it better, then why not? It would be immoral to do otherwise, wouldn't it? So this video is definitely not about really getting on a high horse or anything like that. I've noticed the positive messages that I know many other people that are thinking of doing the same. So in summary, there are 2 reasons why I want to do this. One is really health related. So there are really to reduce saturated fats, the amount of meat that I eat, increase my vegetable consumption, and reduce overall calories, because vegetables have less calories than meat. All of this is really to assist that, to avoid those age-related diseases as we go through life and stay physically active as long as we possibly can. Thanks for watching. I hope you do enjoy these videos. If you do, please subscribe, because it's a big incentive to carry on. And of course, Happy New Year.